So, you're taking your relationship to the next level. You may be wondering how and when to combine your finances.
Whether you are in a common law, marriage, or remarriage scenario, we can help with that.
Basically, we want you to get really good at talking about money with your partner.
You would be shocked to know how much of people's financial well-being comes down to being able to communicate about money. But don't worry, we're gonna get you through it. This is all incredibly doable. It takes less time than you spend scrolling on your phone, I promise you.
Now, before we get going, we want to be clear that we're not tax or legal professionals, and professional advice should be acquired in those areas if needed. We just want you to be aware of the key considerations that come up when looking at the financial side of this topic.
And the help that's out there as you start your own research, because your real-life questions need real answers. So let's go.
We're going to cover combining finances and managing shared costs.
From there, we'll explore saving for shared goals, planning for a home, and finally, future-proofing ourselves with agreements, wills, and insurance. Lesson 1, combining finances.
In the area of combining finances, people tend to find out that a lot of their beliefs on how finances should be combined come from how their parents had done it.
Exactly, and so much has changed. Think of how many careers didn't even exist when our parents got together.
But there are still some basics that everyone has to contend with.
And those are budgeting for shared costs of living and finally joint taxes.
Shared costs of living are the things you both use and pay for. Expenses like rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, and groceries.
If you already budget for those costs on your own, then adjusting to a shared budget is a great next step.
I couldn't agree more, because budgets are beautiful.
And yet, based on a recent survey by the CRA, more than half of all Canadians do not budget because they are time crunched or feel overwhelmed.
Many people have a resistance against carving out time to fill out a budget template. And all the apps and templates in the world can't get them over that mental block.
And yet, those that push through are statistically better at managing their money. They are less likely to spend more than their income or borrow for day-to-day expenses.
So, yeah, a budget can literally save you money for as long as you put it into practice.
In Canada, filing joint taxes is something couples who have lived together for 1 year have to do, whether they are married or not. There are benefits to this that can lower the taxes you owe. So it is absolutely worth either speaking with a tax professional or getting on the phone with the CRA helpline to get more information. Lesson 2, managing shared costs. Once your household budget is built, you may decide to keep your finances separate and split monthly expenses.
Or you may want to combine finances to address the reality of shared costs and joint taxes. If so, there are typically 3 approaches you can take to accomplish this.
These are proportional, raw, and complete approaches. Couples who use the proportional method to combine their finances each contribute to the household bills at a rate that's proportional to their income. Let's say partner 1 earns $10,000 per month, and partner 2 earns $5,000 per month.
Both partners contribute 50% of their monthly income into the joint account to cover shared costs.
So partner 1 would end up putting in $5,000, and partner 2 would put in $2,500.
With the raw method, couples each chip in the same amount regardless of how much they make. Whatever each of them has left over goes into their separate accounts.
So let's say that partner 1 makes $10,000 a month and partner 2 makes $5,000 a month.
Both of them could put $3,750 into their joint account and use their remaining income for personal expenses or savings and investments solely in their name.
And finally, there is the complete approach. This is for couples who completely combine their bank accounts. They pay all their bills from the same joint account, only have joint credit or debit cards, and invest in joint retirement savings plans. Their contributions all come from the same place.
Once you choose the approach that works for you both, you can manage your shared costs with the single most useful financial tool there is, the budget.
Lesson 3.
Saving for shared goals.
Having someone to motivate your savings can be a game changer. Similar to how it's so much easier to exercise if you have a friend or a personal trainer egging you on.
Yeah, jab cross. And savings is really about the twin ideas of debt and saving strategies.
Debt comes into play if you decide to open a joint account and then use that account to apply for a loan, line of credit, or mortgage.
You are effectively saying you trust your partner financially 100%. Because if any of these lending opportunities default, you are both legally responsible.
This brings us back to our point of how important it is to talk to your partner about money. We know it can be awkward at first, but it's truly better in the long run. So Go ahead and discuss each other's credit situation and how much debt you each have.
And share your credit scores. If you don't know what yours is, there are online services like Equifax or TransUnion that can tell you and even track it for you.
Finding a saving strategy that works is all about customization. We all learn and earn in different ways and have different relationships with money.
But a pretty universal piece of advice is you have to start somewhere.
Because keeping your money in a checking account doesn't allow that money to stay ahead of inflation.
Though, again, every situation is different, and we aren't here to tell you exactly what to do. So reach out to an advisor and ask how this might relate to your broader financial picture.
Whether you're putting some of that money into a tax-free savings account, TFSA, Registered Retirement Savings Plan, RRSP, Guaranteed Investment Certificate, GIC, or other savings program, it gets you in the habit of looking at the potential of your money rather than what it can do for you right now. Lesson 4, planning for a home.
This, like everything else, starts with a conversation.
Are you homeowning types or travel the world types? Do you want to have children? Do you have hobbies that take up a ton of space?
Getting a sense of what that could cost makes your goals actionable.
It's also important to understand what the steps towards that journey look like.
To give you the lay of the land so your journey goes smoothly.
Absolutely. There are things that can make it harder for you to get a mortgage, but can be planned for if you see them coming.
Yes, like outstanding debt. An active car lease, for example. You may want to pay down as much of your debt as possible before applying.
Another obstacle to qualifying for a mortgage is having bad credit, which takes time to build back up.
And speaking of time, you may need to provide at least 2 years of financial records if you're self-employed, or a letter of employment from your employer confirming your salary and how long you've been employed.
A mortgage is a significant amount of money, and it's important to acknowledge that and ask yourself if you are ready to take on that amount of personal debt.
So true, because it's not just the mortgage payment you'll be making, there are ongoing property taxes as well as condo fees and maintenance, depending on your situation.
This is where an emergency fund makes a big difference. If you have one in place to cover all the things that your landlord currently is responsible for, then you are in a better position to be house hunting.
Just a bit of realism, because it's a very big decision with lasting impact that you don't want to jump into impulsively. It's all about playing the long game, starting small, building stamina, and taking those big steps when you're ready.
Getting clear within yourself and with your partner about the kind of life you want to live, as well as the role financial health plays in that, can give you a significant head start.
Lesson 5, future-proofing. Okay, so this is an important one.
There are a few core things we want you to consider for setting yourself up for success down the road.
Those are prenuptial agreements, wills, and life insurance.
Prenuptial agreements carry a stigma of being an act of distrust.
When actually the opposite is true. To have this conversation, you need to trust the heck out of your partner and ultimately want the best for them, whether you're in each other's lives or not.
Also, you don't have to be getting married to create an agreement. Cohabitation agreements can be written with a financial planner's guidance and notarized.
Basically, you make a list of everything each of you has: savings, assets like vehicles or property, TFSAs, RRSPs, and any debt. And talk about what you think is a fair way to divide these things should you part ways.
Breakups are hard, and you may not have the clarity of mind to make good choices for yourself, should it actually be happening. And these choices can really impact your life.
Think of it as self-care for the future.
Maybe not the most romantic thing to be thinking about when first committing to a relationship, but it's another one of those things that could be an act of love for yourself and your partner.
Considering how small an effort it is and how much headache and heartache it can alleviate, it's just the kind of thing to do when deciding to build a life together. A will is pretty straightforward, though you may want to have legal assistance in setting it up to make sure everything is covered and the will is 100% valid. You may also want to speak to a financial advisor beforehand so you're prepared. That way, you spend less time and money in the lawyer's office.
Similar to a will, life insurance is one of those things you hope to never need. But if you find yourself needing it, it's really important. And though it isn't something your financial advisor can do, they can guide you in the right direction and even set you up with one of their insurance partners, if appropriate.
So, we've gone over combining finances and how to manage shared costs.
Savings for shared goals, planning for a home, and future-proofing.
By now, you may be noticing a theme. The more you do today, the better prepared you'll be for the unknowns of tomorrow.
One of the best things about thinking this way is that you get to design the future.
Design, plan, and build a future with your favorite person. And hey, don't be afraid to ask so many questions.
We're here to help because your real-life questions need real answers.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm so glad we didn't miss.